Welcome, everybody, to the Resilient Now podcast. We are super, super happy you're here. I have a guest that I don't know her. I was referred to her by somebody very special, so I'm very excited to hear her. So let me tell you first why we're here. The podcast, Resilient Now podcast, there's a website, and you can also hear it in your, on Spotify. You can hear it on YouTube, um, Apple Podcasts. So the whole purpose of this is so if you're going through something, a challenge, or something's been on your mind that's really bothering you, and you can't shake it off, shake it off. It's Taylor Swift week, so she did her for podcast. So I was really happy about that because I'm a fan. So if you're going through something that's hard, hopefully I find you a speaker, somebody here who's gone through that already, and they're on the other side of it, and they can tell you how they got through it. And not that that will take the pain away, but it might give you some hope to move forward. So that's why I created this, resource. Also, if you go to my website, there's some kind of tips on what to do for the day, for the week that can help you get through all sorts of things. It's things I've done that's helped me. And there's also information on 12-step programs. There's just a lot of things on the website. I never say this, so I'm saying it today. Um, so I want to welcome Angie to the podcast. Hey, thanks for being here. And I want to ask you, because I asked this to all my guests. So what does resilient now mean to you?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me on your podcast, Liliana. It's so great to be here. Resilience now to me means meeting the moment with care instead of urgency. So I worked as an OR nurse for about 32 years, and I always thought resilience was like pushing through and white knuckling it and quick response time. But I learned that this wasn't the case. And now looks very different to me. And it's a daily practice that calms my nervous system.
All right. I love that. And that's something that people can hold on to and use. So I appreciate that. I cannot wait to hear your resilience story. So I'm gonna just let you proceed and thank you again for being here and opening up yourself for this with your experience, strength and hope.
So my story is, as I mentioned, I worked in the OR for 32 years as a nurse, and it was a very busy job, and I took it very seriously. Sometimes I think maybe I took my job a little too seriously, but as a nurse and a mom, I think a lot of women can relate to this. We tend to care for others so much and we forget to look after ourselves. So was through this cycle, yeah, decades into it. And, every once in a while I get this inkling, like I'm just not feeling that great. But as I said, push through and you show up for work and show up for the family. And um, at one point, my body just couldn't do it anymore. And like everything came to a grinding halt. And I basically got home from work one day and I lied down on the couch and I was not waking up. So my kids were like, "Mommy, Mommy, what's wrong?" I mean, I just was exhausted. And my husband came home and, where's dinner? And I mean, he'd wake me up, tried to wake me up, and he would cook dinner and try to wake me up for dinner. And I slept through it. And then he'd wake me up at 11 o'clock at night to go to bed. And then the cycle would continue. I'd have just enough energy basically to show up for work because I was a very dedicated worker. And then, it took all of my energy and brain power for that too. It was, because the job did take a lot of physical and mental and emotional work needed to be put in for this job. So, yes, so when I hit the wall, I finally found a functional medicine doctor that helped me figure out that I had, in fact, Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which is a autoimmune condition. So, I didn't say this before, but basically, over my 32 years in nursing, like, I had had several little cycles of burnout and exhaustion, but I just kept going. Like, maybe I'd go on vacation or I'd recharge over the weekend, and then, I'd be full energy again. But at this point, I didn't have much energy at all. And this wonderful doctor whom I met, who I'm so grateful to this day, I met him, I think it was in 2014 or 2015. And he told me all the things I needed to do in order to start recovering from this. I started taking thyroid medication, of course, and supplements, major lifestyle and diet changes. And I was starting to feel better. However, um, 3 months following this protocol, I still didn't feel as good as I did just like days before I actually hit the wall. I always call it hitting the wall. And so I said this to him, and he said, so Angie, what are you doing for yourself? And I basically laughed at him and I said, for myself, are you kidding? Like, I'm so busy taking care of everybody else. And he said, okay, Angie, I order you to go home and do something just for you. What do you like? Are you into sports? Are you into art? Like, what do you like to do on your spare time? And I had remembered that when I was a 10-year-old, my sisters had bought me a calligraphy kit. I taught myself calligraphy. I did it for years and years. And then once my kids were born, like I basically stopped. So I had stopped my own calligraphy practice for a couple of decades. So I told him this, and he said, I order you to go home and do calligraphy. I said, I don't remember how to do that. And he said, well, how did you learn the first time? I said, I taught myself. He said, well, go home and reteach yourself. So I thought, okay, well, let's give this a try. So I went home. I couldn't find my old supplies. So I went out and bought some new things. And started watching videos. On Instagram, I started following people and I started to teach myself again. And soon after, like it didn't take very long for me to realize that as I sat down here, just like for 10 or 15 minutes a day, because that's all I would have, I started to, it quieted all the noise, all the background noise. It stopped the whole hamster wheel thing from happening because I was a hamster on a wheel, as many of us are. And it really brought me calm and focus. And ever since then, like I have a daily practice now, and I just can't believe that um, how different my life is now. And in 2021, I actually retired early from nursing, and now I actually teach calligraphy. I started out teaching other uh, caregiver type women, and well, the nurses that I worked with while I was still working, and they would see me on my lunch break practicing to help calm me down. They'd say, like, what are you doing? That's so pretty. We want to learn. So I started teaching them, and they were loving it. And I've taught so many workshops, online, in person for corporations. And at the end of every workshop, I'll have people coming up to me. It's usually mostly women that come to my workshops, and they'll say, oh my gosh, I have never picked up a pen before, so I didn't know if I'd be able to do this. But I have to say, this is so calming. And it just lights me up to know that something that has been benefiting me is also benefiting others. And so it's like a ripple effect. And I'm so thrilled that, you know, it's for me, it's a meditative practice. And I had tried for years to sit down and quiet meditation. I just couldn't quite get there. But for me, when I sit down with my pen in the silence, I dip my pen in the ink and I hear the scrape of the pen across the paper, and it just brings me into that flow state. And that is my meditation. And I'm so grateful to that doctor to this day.
I love that. How often do you do it a week?
Um, I practice almost every day. So I'm going to say at least 5 out of 7 days.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for how long? So how long do you do it usually?
If I have a project to do, it takes longer, I'll, half an hour. If I'm posting for social media, that will be my practice. I'll be doing my practice and videotaping it. But if I'm not doing any of those things, like 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll sit down. And just before we got on the call, I was trying to take the ink off of my hands. I don't know if you could see
That's
it,
okay. You're a
but yeah.
professional.
So, like, oh my gosh. But yeah, like just about every day I practice, and it doesn't take much time at all. Really, all you need is 10 minutes a day, and then you build this muscle memory for it.
Okay.
And yeah, and like I always say, like my kids now are they're adult children, but they're still in the house 25 and 24 years old. And sometimes they can get into, heated discussions, and it doesn't matter. Like everything could be so loud around me, but when I sit down at my desk with my pen, everything quiets down, and I just love it.
I love this because I've heard this. I've heard people, so, calligraphy or just,
Yeah,
writing or, like drawing or painting. And so this is, you're a proven case that this really does calm you down. And so
yes.
how's your Hashimoto's doing? How's that going?
Great, actually. So, I forget that I have it. I haven't had like a bout of symptoms in quite a long time, but my worst symptoms for me when it first happened was the exhaustion. Like it wasn't just tired, it was exhausted. And that and brain fog was really bad. And then there were lots of other symptoms like cold all the time, weight gain, dry hands, brittle, like hair falling out. Like all of my symptoms have improved so much. But sometimes when my neurons aren't firing right, it's like, okay, I need to rest a little bit more, like more than just my daily practice, because I am a go, go, go type of person. And when I'm feeling great, I get this from my mom, who's 86 years old. And when she's feeling good, she is like a machine. I'm
That's
telling you,
awesome. That's awesome.
cooking and like she is very fit physically and mentally. And so I'm a lot like her. And it's go, 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 go. And then it's like, okay, like, and I'll start to feel tired. Maybe my brain's not as quick. And I think, okay, I really need to try to, take some time and relax a little bit more than my 10 or 15-minute calligraphy practice.
So I've heard that some people don't know they have Hashimoto. So one of the ways they can find out is they can go to an endocrinologist, right? That's my understanding. And
That is,
then
yeah, yes and no. Okay, so you are in the US, I am in Canada. Now, you can go to an endocrinologist, and 10 years ago, it was very difficult to diagnose, and things are getting better now. However, our family practitioners here in Canada and the endocrinologists were testing TSH, T3, T4. They were not testing thyroid antibodies. And so I don't see an endocrinologist. My family doctor back in the day was not helping me out at all because he was saying, "Oh, your TSH is fine." But as a nurse, I was very good at doing my own research, and I looked into it and it said, your TSH could be fine, but you need to look at all of these other markers. And my doctor at the time would not check thyroid antibodies because he says, I don't do anything with that information. As far as I'm concerned, you're great on paper. And I said, look at me.
right,
But he
right.
wasn't looking at me. He dismissed me. I brought in a list of all my symptoms. He dismissed me and it was like, you know what? We need to put you on antidepressants. We need to change up your, and it's like, and I was depressed. And I'm like, I'm depressed because you're not listening to me. So then I found this functional medicine doctor and he said, we need to test your thyroid antibodies. And sure enough, they were off of the charts, like 2000 plus. And he was like, I've never seen anybody with thyroid antibodies this high. They're supposed to, one of them is supposed to be like in the under 100 range, and the other one in the hundreds range. If I recall now, I haven't had them tested in a long time because I've actually been feeling great. So
That's great.
I got them well below 1,000 and then in the hundreds range. They're still not normal range, but you know what? If I don't care what a number says, as long as I feel good,
That's your gauge.
right?
That's how you gauge everything.
Exactly,
That
exactly.
makes sense. Well, I'm so glad you brought that to attention. So, our listeners can identify hopefully that. And if that's the case, they can go see professional help so that they know what to ask for. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So I always finish the podcast with gratitude because I'm a big believer in gratitude. It can trump pretty much sadness and resentment and just all sorts of, feelings that don't make you feel great. So
Yeah.
what's your top gratitude right now, if you had to pick one or two?
Well, you know what? I don't know if you can see the ink on my fingers.
I can see that.
I am grateful for the ink stains on my fingers. And having worked in the OR for 32 years and having like bodily fluids all over my gloves and gown and hat and mask, now I'm grateful to have ink all over my fingers and to I mean I loved my job. It was very fulfilling, but now I can be at home or at a beautiful workshop setting and all I get now is ink or paint all over me and I'm just so grateful for that.
That's amazing. Angie, you really are a treasure. I've loved that I get to meet this artist, and I'm looking forward to looking at your website and going in there and looking at everything. So if anybody ever wants to get in contact with any of the speakers, please reach out to resilientnowpodcast@gmail.com and I'll try to do the connection. Anyway, I just want to, again, thank you so much for sharing. And I want to wish everybody an amazing day. Make it an amazing day. Remember to stay resilient now. Right now. You can do this. You can be resilient. Have a good one. See you next time.